It's Chris again from the Easy Crypto podcast. And this week we have Tom Mays on, who is from Vancouver. Now, Tom is a little bit like myself in that he has his hand in many different pots. And it's going to be great to delve into to what he's doing in each one of his businesses. And then we're going to go a little bit further down into the psychology of investing, just to help people with the expectations of what they potentially can expect from different asset classes. We're quite lucky in that me and Tom have pretty much been involved in pretty much every single asset class, i.e. in share investing, in trading, in real estate, in crypto. And I think it's really, really beneficial for people to gain an insight into what are the expectations within each asset class. And I think this is going to be a bit of a game changer when it comes to crypto investing. So without further ado, I'm going to hand it over to Tom to tell us a little bit about himself and his businesses. Fire away, Tom.
Thanks for having me here, Chris. First off, much appreciate it. Love your podcast. And yeah, to just start off briefly with a quick summary of the 4 projects and businesses that I'm focused on at the moment. Just like Chris mentioned, shiny object syndrome. We've got a lot of things on the go, so it's great. A lot of commonalities. The primary business is Squadra Capital. It's a commodity and currency traded fund I founded about 3 years ago. In the process of building that, did a lot of networking with family offices, venture capital firms, private equity, high net worth, ultra high net worth individuals. And they'd say, Tom, love what you're doing with the commodity and currency traded fund, but right now we're looking for real estate or we're looking for technology. And at the same time of having an investment fund or hedge fund, you get a lot of people reaching out to you for investment. Hey, Tom, will you invest into this tech company or this real estate? And I'd say, no, we're commodity and currency traded fund, but let me introduce you to a family office that was literally looking for exactly what you have. So co-founded another business called Alteza Capital. With that, we do a lot of consulting work around scalability, but primarily in fundraising. So if people are looking to raise capital for their projects or their companies, we can come on board to assist them with that. Or if they're an investor looking for new investment opportunities, we can help source them deals that are of interest to them. Third business is NXT Digital. Founded this about 9 months ago. We assist artists with getting into the NFT space. We deal with all the branding, marketing, advertising. We really just allow artists to be artists and enjoy what they do. And we deal with all the headaches of the NFT space and the digital aspects. We're building a digital art gallery in combination and partnership with Aircoins, which is sweet, augmented and virtual reality. That should be out in probably a month or maybe even when this gets released. So that's exciting. We're going to be able to feature some artists in the virtual art gallery. And then with that, the 4th business is when clients cannot afford to hire me as a consultant to assist with the fundraising process, I will provide them with some coaching on how they can do it on their own and come on as an advisor or a coach to assist them with that. Also get a lot of young entrepreneurs who are transitioning into business, being able to assist them with that transition or learning and growing in the entrepreneurial space. So those are the main 4.
I think that's enough. That's fantastic. I found someone that's just like me that loves the different projects. And I'm going to delve into the capital one. What's your typical type of investment that you're looking for?
Totally. So it's quite diverse. When we're in the commodity and currency traded fund, we're trading gold, copper, silver, soybean, wheat, and WTI crude. On the commodity side, in the currency side, we'll trade USD CAD, Euro USD. Going to be transitioning a little bit more into the currency side of things by the end of this year. So that's primarily in the currency and commodity traded fund. As far as Alteza Capital goes with investments into private placement, we'll do anything from cannabis companies to technology. I've got a major focus on technology. I've got a business coach with PhD in artificial intelligence, and he's always smacking me around, telling me to learn more about technology. So I put a lot of emphasis onto that. And then I think there's a massive opportunity in the psychedelic and alternative medicine space with ketamine and psilocybin for PTSD. So I think that's going to be a emerging market over the next 2, 3, 4 years as more research comes out on how helpful that is. So focusing there as well. And then real estate is always very popular for family offices and high net worth individuals.
So have you been trading wheat? Because that looks more like a meme coin at the moment with the chart goes just straight up.
Yeah, wheat has been quite the roller coaster for sure. I would say, so many commodities in the past 2.5 years, 3 years, with supply chain issues, extreme weather conditions. The Suez Canal with WTI was, a major event. There's been major events in many of the commodities in combination with extreme inflation over the past 3 years. So if you've been trading, I really hope you've been on your toes.
Yeah, I mean, we use on the just to follow the commodities. I follow it with the Goldman Sachs commodity index, so you can get a good idea as to whether we're moving into commodities and whether or not things are going up. Obviously, we've seen oil hit all-time highs, and it's interesting because when we were trading the oil contracts back when there was zero. You just look at them now. It's just crazy how things have changed, and how obviously we have this big issue, which obviously affects crypto as well, which is inflation. And obviously we have many people saying Bitcoin was an inflationary hedge, and then obviously what we've found now is with Bitcoin, it's been following the Nasdaq, so it's now getting treated more like a technology stock. And obviously we've seen about 3 trillion wiped off the Nasdaq and the S&P 500 since the beginning of January. So it's not only just crypto that's getting affected. When you're looking at the different asset classes, obviously the shares are going down, but obviously we've got commodities that are rocketing. In fact, we're seeing those, like I said, those charts are looking more like if you take soya also as an example, or coffee, you could do potentially better than you could potentially in crypto as we speak, which I think people should.
And the lumber market too. The lumber market was insane.
Lumber's gone nuts. I think that if and this is a good point from a point of view, although we're a crypto podcast, I think it's also about educating our viewers on that crypto should always be part of a smaller, should be a portion of your portfolio, and that you should potentially have other asset classes in there. And also, when we're looking at the expectations of crypto, as crypto matures, which obviously I would say 2021 was the year of the big whales, i.e. the big banks getting into Bitcoin. And obviously that in itself has matured the volatility within Bitcoin. I mean, obviously, if we look at the volatility of years gone past, it was considerably more. Obviously, the meme coins we've seen considerable volatility with the lunar event. But if you actually look at what's held up in the lunar event, it's actually been ETH and Bitcoin in relation to those other coins. So what's your thoughts on returns? What would you be saying to newbie crypto investors?
Just before we dive into that too, what you're talking about with inflation, I just thought it was quite entertaining how, 3 years ago when COVID began, all the politicians were like, oh no, this printing of money will never cause inflation. It'll never cause inflation. No, we'll manage it. We'll manage it. And now everything is like 30% more expensive. When you go to the grocery store, 20% more expensive. So everybody in finance was like, this is not possible. This is not possible for there not to be inflation. So it's quite interesting. Watching the commodity markets has been very, very interesting in combination with the supply and demand issues and at the same time. So as far as, what you mentioned about diversification of a portfolio, having a certain percentage in crypto, a certain percentage in real estate, a certain percentage in stocks, like it's crucial. And I think you can break that down further as well. For myself, on my crypto portfolio, I would have a certain percentage allocated to, 5-year plan, 10-year plan, set and forget. And then I'd have a certain percentage. Okay, let's go for some medium risk, that I, determine to be some coins that are going to be more volatile. And then I like to call them moonshot coins. So these are the coins that are just, you're throwing a dart at a dartboard and you toss $500 into 20 different coins, and you just see if one takes off. Because if one 10x's or 20x's or 30x's in the space, it's very possible. And I think we've all done it. But just managing that psychology and realizing like, okay, I'm not going to start selling all of my Bitcoin to put it more into theta because it's dropping faster and faster and I want to buy the dip. But managing that investment psychology where, you went in with a plan and you said, okay, 50% of my portfolio is going to be in Bitcoin because it's for the long term. I don't want to touch it. And then 20% in Ethereum because I believe in Ethereum. And then you do maybe whatever 15% and 15% in some more aggressive locations or medium risk. But being aware of that, and making sure that you're sticking to your plan instead of making adjustments.
So what would you expect to get as an average, say, for instance, on a real estate return on a yearly basis, just to give us comparison to crypto?
For sure. So real estate, anywhere from 6% to 20% is very good in the real estate market. I just bought a condo in Yaletown, Vancouver, 2 years ago, and I'm going to be selling it in the next few months here. And I'm going to be making about 14% on that property over 2 years, which is fine because that's also leveraged money, right? When you have a down payment of $140,000, but the total property is worth 680, and then you sell it for 750. You have to realize that the gain is not just on 680 to 750, but you're leveraging your original investment of 140,000. So when you're making an additional 70,000 on top of that 140, your actual return is actually, a 50% gain. So, that's phenomenal. 50% over 2 years, 25% a year. That's really good.
See, this is good from a point of view talking to people in the crypto market, because obviously people expect big returns in the crypto market, 10x, and without the downside. But what you have in real estate, which you don't really have in crypto. Okay, you can trade it and you do get some sort of leverage. You just don't get the leverage that you've got on a real estate investment potential. So basically, the real estate potentially, pretty much, I would say, of our net worth is probably about 90% of our net worth, excluding the businesses, is basically a real safe bet. I mean, even if you're investing in a 5-year cycle and we see things go down. I'll never forget when I bought my first property in London, which was, I think initially it was 115,000, and it got downvalued, and I had to put extra cash in because they said it wasn't worth 115,000, and when we originally sold it, when we sold that particular one with 5x this money, so, and that was within a 5-year period, so to speak. It goes to show that basically real estate is still one of the top asset classes for getting phenomenal returns in a safe environment. So I think it needs to be part of everyone's investment portfolio. Yes, obviously we've got the Bitcoin situation where obviously some people bought at $1 or maybe 1 cent. And then obviously we've seen, I've had quite a few people wanting to come on the podcast, and that's all they want to talk about is, hey, I bought Bitcoin for 7 cents and now I'm a Bitcoin millionaire. And I'm like, this is not actually going to help everyone. Because
right.
Obviously that's been and gone.
Can't duplicate that.
But I think what we have to be realistic with the crypto side of things is we're going to see 90% of these projects fail. It's very, very similar to what we've got in, or what we had in the .com era with the internet. And as you said to me before we started the podcast, if you put internet in your name, you doubled, tripled your value. You got the investment. And it's a bit like that in crypto now. And obviously, I think people are going to be a lot more cautious after what's happened with Luna, because obviously there's about 80 billion been wiped off the market there, and it's even bigger than Enron. But if you actually think about it, it's actually a lot more than 80 billion, because obviously the downside is that a lot of the other cryptocurrencies were affected as well. But there's still really, really good projects out there that are developing really, really good projects. They're the ones that are going to survive. They're the ones that are going to thrive. If you take the Phantom network with some of the DeFi that's on there, they're very, very good. And same with AVAX. Obviously, AVAX has got the subnets. It's interesting how some of these projects will do really well, and but it's also a cautionary tale that people need to be realistic on what, when they come to the cryptocurrency arena, realistic on what returns they're going to get, and also compare them and be fair. It's like I was talking today to an employee, and she was like, 10% doesn't really get me excited. And I'm thinking 10% is really good. It isn't anymore. And no one actually thinks this. When I was looking at my pension when I was in London and I was seeing the pension returns, it's like 1-2%. It's like, oh my God, this is dreadful.
I had a financial advisor and he got me like between 4 and 9% when I was younger. I guess I was like 16 to 19. And that was considered good returns. That was good returns. I wasn't happy with it, but for people that aren't managing anything, they said it with a financial advisor. Those are the good returns.
I must admit, now that I've been in crypto, when you get used to looking at your portfolio on a daily basis,
up 15, down 21, up 32.
Yeah, you're just like, yeah, right, okay, I'm not interested in it. It's but obviously, if that was a share, if that was Apple, I'd be dancing on table. I'd be like, oh my God, look at that, that's gone up so much.
Yeah.
But it's what we're now expecting. But I think obviously, as the market matures more, we're going to see single-digit returns in some of the cryptos.
Which would be amazing for the industry, because that would signify a massive amount of stability.
Yeah.
Right. Massive returns and massive volatility just signifies great instability and uncertainty. Right. So the more something that grows more consistently at a regular rate is actually great news for the progression of whether it's a company, Facebook or Apple, or if it's, the industry as a whole. The technology space in the beginning was extremely volatile. Right. So now as technologies become more and more commonplace, you still have some smaller companies that are very volatile, but the major tech companies have become much more solid. So the same thing is going to happen in the crypto space, and it is happening on a much lesser degree. Bitcoin and Ethereum are much less volatile than the majority of the other coins. But so the more stability that comes to the market, in my opinion, it's a great vote of confidence for the future of the industry.
It is interesting what we're seeing, because it's like if you look at the tech, even, I mean, basically AMD is a prime example. Within the Nasdaq, it's highly volatile compared to the other stocks, compared to Apple, and Nvidia is also highly volatile as well in relation. But it's nothing like the volatility that you see in crypto. Now, when you're looking for an investment, what are the key factors that you're looking for your business?
For my business or for personal?
Well, for both, Tom. Really,
For
it's. I
both.
think it's useful for people listening from a business point of view, because
Totally. Yeah, I really encapsulate my mindset depending on the goals and what my objective is. So if I'm looking for parking a larger amount of cash for a longer period of time, and this is money that I want to be there in 5 or 10 or 15 years, then I would be looking more into real estate. I would be looking into cities that are already established and going to continue to grow. Vancouver is a great example. Toronto is a great example. If I needed rental and I wanted appreciation, then I would not be worried about the rental income. If I wanted cash flow from that property, then I'd probably be looking for some places in the US where I can buy cheaper homes, but then rent them out for a decent amount of monthly income. So anytime that I'm considering an investment decision, it is always based around the goals for that investment. Whether it's $20,000 and I just want to, see if I can make as much money as possible with it in the next year, then, let's get in the crypto space. Let's get into the leverage trading space in Forex, and let's leverage that money 100 times, 200 times, and do some aggressive trading. So really taking the time to think through that investment psychology and your mindset to how you want to progress with that. Do you have kids? Do you have a family? Do you, how old are you? Are you selling a business soon? Are you making great money from your job and you just want this to be solid and secure? Do you love investing and trading? So you want to put, you want to be on the charts for 3 or 4 hours every day, or 20 hours a week, determining what you're going to do. Do you want to just be completely hands-free? There's so much. You can really break it down into different categories, and this is what I coach people on, is being able to differentiate that. Because what I don't like, which is quite common in the industry, is you go to a bank or you go to a financial advisor and they just want to sell you the first thing that they make the largest commission on, or it's the easiest thing that they've only been trained on. They've only been at the bank for 1 or 2 years, and you look at them as an expert, but really they don't have the best experience to go off of. So I really encourage people to take the time to look at their total income, their net worth, where they want to be in the next year, 5 years, 10 years, and then start mapping that out with a plan, a budget, or if you're an entrepreneur, it's quite different. And then doing the research to identify what opportunities are available, whether it's crypto, real estate. One thing I do want to mention about real estate is the barrier to entry can be sizable depending on where you're investing. And, don't be shy to research real estate investment funds. Find some professionals that are doing that investing for you, so you don't have to worry about, parking such a large amount of cash. You could invest into 3 or 4 different real estate investment funds with professionals who've been doing it for 20 years, opposed to, putting all your life savings into one property and now you're super stressed out about it. So again, the planning and, thinking about how you're going to manage everything and what's going to be a good fit for you and your family is the most important part, in my opinion.
You mentioned about real estate investment groups. We went into Simon Property Group last year when it was about $80. Now obviously it peaked, and we got rid of that late last year when it peaked at about 160. I truly believe that even though we came out of it because we just felt that we were at top of the market, I truly believe that some of these real estate investment groups are undervalued, and especially when you look at the net asset value. Simon Property Group is a very clever guy that runs it. He was buying when people were selling in COVID, and one of the things he was doing is basically putting effectively when he was putting the tenants in, he was looking at the ones that were not going to go bust, so to speak, and that were going to thrive. And then it was what he did is where a big shopping center was losing out, like a particular retail park, he would then offer them space in one of his other retail units. So one was with his competitor. So he'd offer the space, and then the competitor, the retail park, would go down, and it would basically it would effectively the value of it would go down, and then he was snapping them up. It was so clever what he was doing with how he did it in a sense that basically he handpicked the best tenants of his competitors, pulled them over, that dropped the rents and the income down, and then he'd snap the other retail parks up. And
Right.
he did really, really well.
Totally. And how many years of experience does he have, let alone his whole team?
Simon Property Group, they've
got to be having 20 years experience plus, right?
Yeah, I mean, they've been going for quite some time. I mean, they're worth about 37 bill.
Yeah, it's such a, great example. And they obviously charge management fees and they pay themselves. But, for someone to go and do their own real estate investing in the first year when they've just started to learn about it versus, investing in something like that while spending an extra year or 2 or 3 years to, learn it for themselves so that they can go ahead and move forward. I think that's, a great strategy opposed to trying to do everything on your own. Have some faith in some professionals that have been doing it for a long time while you're in the process of learning it, and start smaller with yourself.
I mean, David Simon's been the chairman of that group since 2007. So, but the actual company.
Yeah, I mean, their team is huge if they're managing 37 billion, right? Like so much value there.
Massive. But it's interesting when you kind of look at the bigger picture, and you look at these models and you study them and see how successful they've been, because you can use them for yourself, even though we're considerably smaller. It's like obviously with us, when we were looking at the mining rigs and when we were looking at the successful businesses within our sector, we studied Riot, which is one of the largest US blockchain companies in the world, basically. And we looked at why they were so profitable, what they were looking at doing for the future, and it really does help you from a point of view of propelling yourself forward. Is study the best, and in some instances you don't reinvent the wheel in a sense. And obviously, I mean, what we did obviously on a smaller scale, obviously we looked at the biggest cost to mining is electric. So it's like, well, we have to generate our own electric. Well, obviously we don't have an hydroelectric power stations near us, like they did. So how could we do it? So we basically teamed up with farms, with the anaerobic digesters. So farms that generate electric through that. And effectively we achieved the same model, but just a different vehicle. So it is interesting with that. Now, I just wanted to touch on, and obviously I think our viewers would be quite interested in this from a crypto point of view. Tell me more about this NXT Digital.
Yeah, for sure. And just before I do that, you mentioned that you teamed up with different groups or you learned from different groups. And that's honestly been, the biggest thing for me moving forward in all of my businesses and with my personal development and progression as an individual has been building relationships and networking with either companies or people that have been able to propel me forward, trying to be the one-stop shop and learn everything completely end to end. When I, have a friend that's been doing it for 10 or 15 years, I would much rather, collaboratively work with them and rely on their experience instead of me trying to go through all of the hoops for the next 4, 5, 6 years. Right. So, just leveraging other people's knowledge and the assets that you have in your life through network connections and resources is so important. And as far as NXT Digital goes, so we partner, like I mentioned earlier in the podcast, we partner with artists so that they can just do what they enjoy, make art. We're not so much in the music industry yet. We have a couple artists on board for that, but primarily partnering with artists that are full-time artists and they make beautiful artwork. We just signed up a gentleman named Brandon. He's in London, England. All of his artwork he does either with pen or with pencil, and it's just beautiful lions and tigers and hippos and human faces. And he makes about 5 or 6 original copies and then does about 10 prints, and then we're going to be doing about 10 NFTs. So it's just an additional revenue stream for the artist. It's more exposure. We're going to be doing a bunch of branding, marketing, and advertising for him in the NFT space. We have a virtual art gallery being built out over the next 2 months with Aircoins. We have a partnership with them for virtual reality and augmented reality. So we'll look at featuring some artists in the art gallery, hosting some virtual events in the art gallery. It's great exposure, great publicity it's a win-win solution for all 3 companies involved, including the artist, Aircoins, and NXT Digital. And in the NFT space, it's, like we've mentioned throughout this podcast, is every new industry is very volatile. There's a lot of uncertainty, but amongst that uncertainty, there's a lot of opportunity. Just like the .com era, just like the cryptocurrency beginning, and the NFT is a new beginning over the past year and a half. It's brand new. There's crazy things happening. You really got to be on your toes and be aware of what's going on in the space and to progress well in it. And I think the true significance and the value and the foundation of the NFT space is going to become prevalent over the next 3, 4, 5, 6 years. So I get asked a lot, like, is it not just a scam, or like, where's the real opportunity? I mean, people are selling like frog images and like rocks and monkeys, it's like, how could these be worth so much? And I'm like, I totally get it. I totally get your point. I would never buy a $300,000 rock either, digital rock. So I'm not necessarily in the space for the past year and this next year for the art space. I truly believe that the NFT space is going to continuously develop. And what we're seeing right now are just massive growing pains in this space. And there's lots of opportunity, lots of money to be made for artists, for companies. But I really think the true opportunity of the space is going to become more and more real over the next 2 or 3 years. And I don't want to be playing catch up. I don't want to be waiting 3 or 4 years and then trying to learn about the NFT space. I want to be involved in it from the beginning and progress through the highs and the lows and build a team that's robust and agile enough to identify those opportunities in the space and then capitalize on them as they come, and then predict where the next opportunities are going to come from. So
it's interesting you talk about NFTs. I mean, I think there's a massive potential in NFTs. I think obviously quite a few people have jumped on the bandwagon from a point of view, let's try and make as much or extract as much money as possible from people. Ultimately, I think with NFTs, it's about the use case and what they're getting used for. Definitely digital art, absolutely. What's your virtual gallery address then? And what platforms are based on?
So it's currently being built. We just signed the contract 2 or 3 weeks ago. So aircoins.io is the company that's building it out for us. And when it is complete, I'll obviously let everybody know. They can go to our website, nxtdigital.ca, and there's going to be some announcements for that coming out. But it's going to be great because you can use either a web browser and you can walk around the art gallery just with a standardized web browser. Chris, I can show you some examples of it after the podcast. And then if you wanted to walk around it with virtual reality headset, then you're able to do that as well. And it's going to be quite interesting. And to add on to what you were mentioning about, the NFTs and virtual art, it's just a small portion of it. I think more and more utility is going to become real over the next year, 2 years, 3 years in the NFT space. And yeah, it's quite interesting. I sit on the advisory board for another company called Asio, and they're really helping out a lot with the authentication and verification of NFTs, because there is a lot of, scams or potential issues out there in this space. So there needs to be a higher level of verification. So, when you're on a website and you scroll down to the bottom or top and there's like a little blue lock, they're pretty much making that for the NFT space. So it's very interesting. A lot of companies, a lot of smart people working very hard in the industry. So it'll be interesting to see where it goes.
Yeah, this is it. There's obviously, unfortunately, there's quite a few scam artists about, but there are also some very, very good projects about. I mean, we mine and we have the mining rigs, but the issue with the mining rigs is there's a high barrier to entry, physical cost wise. So what we are doing is we are launching our own NFTs linked to a time apportioned amount of processing. So if we measure the rig and say it's got 150 mega hash, and we're going to sell, for instance, 25 of that mega hash, then effectively you'll get that rig for that percentage of that time. And literally what we're doing is effectively simplifying everything, because if you think about the crypto mining side, obviously, if you were to buy it outright yourself, you need to be thinking about cooling it, keeping it in a safe place, keeping it in a place that's it couldn't potentially catch fire. You're going to have to source electric cheap. There's quite a lot to it.
Mm-hmm.
So by putting it on a packaged NFT and saying, look, we'll take care of all the infrastructure, the cooling costs, the electric, and you get a portion of the profits. We get a management fee of 10%, and then obviously the rest of the profits gets directed to the NFT wallet. So, for instance, OpenSea,
Right,
and Solana. On the
it's a great utility.
Then there's a use case for that, and I think as we see more of these evolve, I do think NFTs will mature, just like we were saying about the coins situation. I do think 5 years from now, my driving license will be an NFT, and I think
very possible.
We'll see massive changes in the real estate industry. With deeds and conveyancing. I mean, if you take NFTs and combine them with smart contracts, you don't need a solicitor to execute the information and processing of a house sale.
Yeah.
So I think there's massive opportunity out there. So
definitely.
I think the art is effectively advertising is a little bit like the crypto. A little bit, the analogy of Bitcoin is, if you think of Bitcoin, it's the top of the iceberg. There's masses of projects below Bitcoin that have many, many great use cases. NFTs is the tip of the iceberg, and then potentially you've got masses of potential projects that you could see absolutely explode. And I think the art
I agree.
is the top of the iceberg that everyone sees, and that's the advertising. Hey, this is what an NFT is initially. Is the pictures.
I think it's going to be like absolutely transformative for the art space and the music industry. I mean, I felt bad for the artists and musicians for so many years. It's been so hard to do well in that space and truly get yourself out there and have a platform that facilitates everything flawlessly. And not saying that it's flawless yet, but I think it's really going to enable a lot of people to pursue a lot more of their passions in music, in artwork, and have it be profitable enough that they can do it full time. Because it's been very difficult to do that over the past 4, 5, 6 years. And I think there's going to be a lot of doors opened in that space for them. And then just like you were mentioning, past that is going to be, I think there's going to be massive opportunity in the real estate space, virtual real estate space, as well as physical real estate space and transactions. As far as the metaverse continues and virtual gaming continues, I think there's going to be massive opportunity for both of those. In the NFT space, I think a lot of that technology will be used there. One of my biggest pet peeves right now is I can go to the grocery store with my phone and I can buy groceries with my phone, but I can't have my driver's license on my phone. I've got to have the actual card. So then, just like you mentioned, an NFT is a one of one. No one else can have that driver's license. If the government issues me that NFT of my driver's license, then that could potentially solve that problem as well, right? So yeah, it's going to be very, very interesting. And then we've got some contacts that are working on and in digital art frames as well. So I really see walking into homes where you can have 20 different digital art frames in your home and you change the NFTs on them, depending on the season or depending on your mood, or you're hosting a party and now you want it to be Hawaiian themed party and you change all of the the images there. Virtual art galleries. I was just talking with a friend and she went to kind of like a presentation or an event in Vancouver for some really very prestigious artists, and none of the art was there. It was all projections of the artwork onto the wall, and it was $100 per ticket to go to this gallery or gala per se, and super expensive paintings, tens of millions of dollars in paintings, but not one of them was real. It was all projections onto the wall. So those could be digital art frames in the future, right?
It's amazing, isn't it? Potentially the
Yeah.
use cases. Once we get into it and you see potentially where we could be heading, I think with some of this stuff, you've just got to be careful that you're not too early.
Totally. Yeah.
Some of these
bleeding edge. Yeah.
It's when the market's also ready to accept it. I think it's basically an interesting side of it. So
just to tail onto that, my business coach, he's PhD in artificial intelligence, two of them actually. And he always mentions to me, like, he's working on crazy projects, like holographic technology and artificial intelligence. And everything that I bring to him, he pretty much asks me, like, or we go over it together and he's like, okay, is this too far ahead or is it too far behind, or is this right on par? Because there's so much tech out there that the common person does not need and will not need for another 4, 5, 6 years, right? So I agree with you. One cool thing we're doing in the art gallery that I think will be more and more commonplace as we progress is we have a potential partnership coming up with a jewelry company. They've got 72 stores internationally, and we're looking at having a art gallery room designated just for this jewelry company. And they could showcase $500,000 and more expensive pieces of jewelry, and we can have their clients come and walk around their jewelry art gallery and they can view different items, and then if they really like a couple pieces, then they can actually go to the stores. So I think more and more use cases where you're able to advertise and showcase in a virtual space, and then if there is of interest, then you actually go and see it in person, and you can have admission tickets for it. So if you want to go and view Ferraris, brand new cars virtually, you can go, and it's $10 for 4 hours to view all the new cars that are coming out. And then you go down to your Ferrari dealership if you actually want to purchase one.
That's pretty impressive. Now, you touched base on coaching, and I think what's absolutely key, especially from an entrepreneur's point of view, and obviously a lot of people in crypto are entrepreneurs, and vice versa. I think it's critical with anything you do to have a tuned mindset, is the polite way of putting it. Because obviously when you're trading, you need a great mindset, and you need to understand the psychology behind how you personally behave and how you react with what's happening in the markets. And then the same with crypto. So I just wanted to touch base on that with you being a coach, and what sort of advice you would give people to develop their mindset. Because if you develop your mindset and you invest and you read books and so on and so forth, then I can guarantee that anything you apply yourself in, whether it be trading in crypto or investing in crypto, you're going to do a lot better.
Totally. I mean, that's the greatest investment you can ever make, is into yourself, whether it's books, audios, leadership seminars, sales training, or having a coach, business coach, whatever it is, investing coach, relationship coach. I mean, if you can improve your mindset 1% and you cost you 10 grand and improved you 1%, if you compound that 1% out for every meeting that you're in, every conversation that you have, every sports event that you go to, that 1% over the next, whatever, how many years you're going to live, 20 years, 30 years, 40 years, 50 years, just is worth so much more money than $10,000. I've invested well over $100,000 into my mindset and into my personal development over the past 6 years. And that $100,000 will make me hundreds of millions of dollars throughout my lifetime. And it's just something that it's hard to explain, but it's much easier to experience. So if you've had, a fitness coach and you go to the gym and you try to lift weights by yourself, and then you go with a coach, and, it's just these small tweaks on your form and, changing your nutrition and your diet. It just helps you advance so much faster instead of just trying to jump all these hoops by yourself and learn on your own versus somebody that's already done it. Another great example I like to use is, anybody that's 100 million plus, 200 million plus, 500 million plus net worth, if you take all of their money away and you give them 1 year to work hard, they'll be so much further than 98% of the world. And it has nothing to do, and you take away their network connections, they have to start from scratch. I mean, it's crazy. You'll even see billionaires go bankrupt or 100 millionaires go bankrupt and then they rebuild, and it's all mindset. So just changing the way that you think, if you think about it that way, it's just incredibly valuable. And coaching and mentorship has been definitely what's progressed me the most throughout my life, whether it's from books or audios or direct coaches and mentors that I've paid for. If you don't have the funds, you don't need to pay somebody. You can go to your uncle who has been investing in real estate for the past 8 years, and you can buy him lunch and you can have some conversations with him. Maybe your friend has been working out at the gym for the past 7 years and he's in great shape. Hey, Jim, can we go work out together? And if you have a good relationship with him, he'll teach you, right? So you can formalize a relationship and it'll really help you progress. But if you can't afford to, or you're not ready to make that leap, then find people that have that experience that you want to pursue, and ask them for help. Simply just ask them for help. And then if they're not willing to help with a little bit of an ask, then incentivize them with smaller amounts of money, or, doing them a favor. Maybe you're a marketing and advertising expert and you want to get into health and fitness. So you do a trades for service. You'll help him with his marketing, advertising. He'll help you with fitness. So really, I can't emphasize enough how much coaching can help you progress at such a exponential rate. It's the most valuable thing, in my opinion, that you can invest in.
No, it is true, is that, and then I think obviously, and this is from experience, really, from a point of view. I do a lot of courses. We're members of the 2CCX ClickFunnels kind of group, and obviously it's not cheap to be in that. But we meet some amazing people, and interestingly, with how the journey that I've had, where basically, we had a highly successful property business, and we sold it to our main competitor, who was the biggest in Yorkshire at the time. Which is interesting, because you say about relationships. We've always concentrated on relationships, because we had a good relationship with our competitors, and hence they actually eventually bought us in that case. And then we went and did the co-working venue, and that was a complete failure because obviously we were hit with COVID. And what I said to my wife, you know, at the time is, it doesn't matter, you know, what's happened regarding the monetary side of things, which we lost a lot of money, because I've got so much more experience now. And obviously because we embarked on the education with ClickFunnels and the likes of Grant Cardone, from a point of view, when we looked at the property business and said, why didn't we become the best? Why didn't we become the most successful? Because when I sold that business, I was a little bit like with a bear with a sore head, because I was like, I didn't become the biggest property business in Yorkshire. And I looked at it and said, it was because my education was lacking in marketing and sales. And basically, I've embarked upon as much education as I possibly could get in those arenas to understand how to grow businesses a lot quicker with sales and marketing. So it is interesting you say that. And then obviously, you know, when we look at the crypto side, obviously people are setting up businesses now under the kind of the crypto umbrella. All of these rules apply to crypto. It's just the same. If you educate yourself, then you're going to do a hell of a lot better. I mean, if you become a crypto developer, which is, you know, one of the things that we're pushing is we're developing a blockchain development school, because one of the other businesses that we own, which is Yorkshire Software.
You're just like me. You've got so much on the go.
We are Mr. Shiny Objects. My wife nearly threw something at me yesterday when I was, we were watching The Undercover Billionaire, and it's absolutely hilarious. Is this when COVID hit? We set up a hand sanitizer business, and we were selling hand sanitizer, and at the same time we were I think actually, we were using it for marketing as well. So we had these QR codes and then the hand sanitizer for the funnel business, and for the sales funnel side of things. And anyway, we've got tens of thousands of bottles left now from basically doing that. I mean, we were successful in doing it. We sold to some of our big clients that were schools at the time, but obviously no one needs any more hand sanitizer these days. And my wife's like, what are we going to do with all these bottles? And I'm like, well, you can try and sell them. And then I'm like, what? On the Undercover Billionaire, with Grant Cardone, there's another woman on there, and she's setting up a juicing business for wellness. And she's like, the net profits are 95% in juicing. And I was like, Shell, I'm like, guess what? That's just the right size of bottle. let's do some juicing. And she's like, you and your shiny objects. And I'm like, all right, love,
hilarious.
We won't do that. But getting back to my point on the blockchain developers are commanding 200,000 in San Fran. There's a major shortage of blockchain developers, and you have to be quite specific in what you do, because it's very different to how you develop. An average developer develops, like say for instance a C# developer, because you effectively have to be twice as good as what a usual developer is, because obviously once you submit your code to a smart contract, it's got to have been thoroughly tested so that it does work first time and that we don't have any bugs, because obviously bugs create hacks, and then obviously people potentially lose money, so to speak. So they're really at the top of the chain, but there's a big shortage of that. So we said, look, we'll actually train people on how to do this. And the reason I kind of decided to do that is because of there's kind of an opening in the market, and also because we need people like that to actually progress the mining side of the business. So it is an interesting one from a point of view of is knowledge is power. It really is. And if people, and it's the same in anything that you apply in life, because if you think about it, if we go back to the scenario of we're in crypto, we're both interested in crypto. The guy that is going to be successful is the one that does their own research. And it doesn't matter what you're in, because at the end of the day, if you do that research and you don't go, hey, Chris, I've seen this coin and I think I should buy it, and I've bought it, then, you know, those are the ones that are going to lose. Whereas the ones that do the research, and it's in any arena, do your own research, and then it pays dividends. But also at the same time is educating. So just what courses would you potentially recommend for development then?
Definitely. Just before I do that, like, I've invested over 100,000 into my, coaches and personal development. And, I even see it when I'm looking to sell my property right now. With the advice that my coach is giving me, he's saving me tremendous amounts of money. And then with, trajectory in some of my businesses, he's going to make me so much more money just from these ideas and these tweaks and turns. And, it could be something as simple as, if you invest $10,000 and you're, career focused, but the next job that you get, because you have more confidence and you're able to speak a little bit more clearly and present yourself well, instead of getting 80K per year, you get 100K per year. And that $10,000 investment pays itself off so quickly, so many times over throughout your lifetime. As far as the courses that I recommend, I'm not a huge fan of too many courses unless you're really specific on what you're looking for. I would say coaching is generally, in my perspective, more one-on-one, where it's looking over everything that an individual has. If you're looking to specifically educate yourself on a specific or topic or industry, then I think courses are phenomenal. Again, I believe I'm a huge advocate of everything is totally individualized. And it drives me nuts when people are on podcasts or YouTube videos and they're saying, I don't care what you're doing, you just need to buy this. And it's like, well, it's irrelevant to so many people, because you don't know what their values are, their morals, their ethics, their goals, their current life situation. So with coaching, finding someone that will have the conversation with you to determine everything that's going on in your life, and then making, giving you advice on step by step on that trajectory is super valuable. If you're looking to learn about crypto, then yeah, you can definitely buy a course. If you're wanting to learn a little bit about real estate investing, then you can definitely buy a course. I would say it's a very different educational process from having a coach. So yeah, I would really take the time to sit down about your goals. Maybe you need a relationship coach. Maybe you need a spiritual coach. Maybe you need someone like myself to teach you how to fundraise for your business, or for, a project that you want to pursue, or you have 4 or 5 businesses on the go and you want someone to bounce ideas off of on how to manage that. That's what I particularly help with, is scalability issues, problem solving, building multiple businesses at the same time, communication coaching, networking, strategic partnerships, building relationships, getting into business, launching your own business. That's where I really like to help out with. But it's all encompassing. It's around confidence, public speaking, everything. Because as you know, Chris, every aspect of your life is crucial. Every skill that you have is crucial when you're building a business. Just like you mentioned that you're in real estate, but you didn't realize that sales or marketing was quite as important as maybe knowing all of the ins and outs of the back end of running a real estate company. So having a business coach at that time may have been helpful to point you in the direction. Hey, Chris, you're doing phenomenal, but let's spend a little bit of time on some marketing or sales, right? So.
No, this is true. I mean, I definitely think coaching's a great idea. I think you've got to find someone that you like.
Totally.
I think obviously, and also someone that's been there, seen it, done it better than you are currently doing it.
Yeah.
I think those 2 key factors make a big difference. I mean, obviously, from our point of view, obviously, we definitely do think that coaching makes a big difference, because obviously I've always had a business coach, and sometimes you just need one to kick you.
Yeah, totally.
Right direction, so to speak. But
Exactly.
obviously, it's exciting times that we're in. I mean, obviously we've got a masses of opportunity now with what we've got with crypto. The use cases for crypto are phenomenal, which basically bring about potential opportunities. So
Yes.
I think we've pretty much kind of covered everything that we set down to cover.
Awesome.
Is there anywhere specific that you would like our viewers to go to find out more about what you do and for them to potentially connect with yourself?
Yeah, the best location is definitely tommays.com. I've got links to my social media there. I've got the web, all the companies that I'm currently working on. If one in particular was of interest to you, you can research more about that individual company. I am launching another company here in the next 2 months, so that will be added to the website. And then I'm on all social media platforms. Tom Mays, you can find me on Facebook, Instagram, LinkedIn. But yeah, that's the main spot.
Well, it has been a pleasure. I think
Awesome.
we've covered quite a few subjects, and some in crypto, some not. But I do think they're related, and a bit of life advice always goes a long way for our crypto audience.
Yeah, thanks so much for having me, Chris. It's been a great conversation. Greatly appreciate it.
It has. And I think what we'll do is we'll try and catch up with you in about 3 months with your next project, see how you're getting on. See how
good.
you're getting on. Your gallery should be launched by then.
Oh, yeah.
And I do think galleries, as in virtual galleries, are a game changer for the artists industry. I think potentially it would be good to see that in action.
Mhm.
And all that leaves me to say is that thanks a lot for being on the podcast. Thanks a lot for taking the time out. And it's been a pleasure.
Thank you, Chris. I learned a lot more about you too. So we're going to have to connect for another chat. I think we've got some business crossover to explore.
Awesome. All right. You take care.
You too. Thanks.